Okay, imagine yourself in my shoes for a second. You make a 10-minute video debunking a Twitter thread using its own evidence, and you think, yeah, that's it, it's over, you did everything you could do, you did everything you had to do, your part is over, you can relax now, the situation is no longer need to interest you. And then you go on Twitter, and you find out more and more shit surrounding the people you discussed in the first video. You eventually find out that they are incredibly scummy individuals with a lot of shit behind them, and yet they got off scot-free. What would you do? Well, I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm making this video right here to expose the entire team behind the versus Sonic.exe mod. We'll be going over most of the major team members, over all the shit they did. I'll talk about the people around them, you know, the friends, just other big creators, about their fans, and mentalities, many things. This video is a very big project with a lot of evidence and work behind it, and of course, just like with the last video, you'll find all evidence in a zip folder downloadable in the description. But before we get to the video, I want to get a few things out of the way, for transparency. 1. My stance on Revi is unimportant to this video. The situation in general only really matters a lot to like 3 people I'll talk about, and they are not the major allegations. Still, my last video on the topic is a jumping on point, so I beg you to at least watch it once, because it just shows that the original thread is not really filled with evidence that supports the claims, actually the exact opposite. Second, I do not condone harassment on anyone mentioned in the video. Whether they are pro-Revi, anti-Revi, nobody deserves harassment, even with how insane some of the Exe Devs are. The third and last thing is that, regardless of what I personally think of the Exe Devs, everything here uses as much evidence as possible, but still, some parts are just speculation, and I'll make it as clear as I can when that's the case. Okay? Good. Now that that's all out of the way, let's get into the video. Also, just like last time, a lot of shit was actually deleted, so the Wayback Machine was once again really just a savior to me. Now, before I talk specifically about the Exe team, I think it'd be better to talk about big creators that actively support them. And for that, I'll be using 2 prime examples, both specifically showing off a different kind of support. First, I would like to talk about a guy called Innuendo. In case you don't know who he is a musician that works on a couple FNF mods, and once had his own, but we'll talk about that in a second. Now, the problem with him is that he just blindly calls Revi guilty and just provides no evidence, and again just follows the thread I debunked in the last video. He even calls the evidence in that original thread undeniable. Well, he calls it a dog, but he means that thread. Which just... yeah, I don't think I need to expand on that now, do I? Also, Innuendo, this message goes to you. You should fucking know how Revi feels with this just overblown cancellation. Or, no, I shouldn't call you Innuendo now, should I? Let me call you by the name you might have already forgotten, a Gotti. In case you don't know, yes, Innuendo is a Gotti, and in case you remember the controversy, yeah, he just changed his name and now suddenly everything's forgotten. But for some reason he doesn't want to just accept other people back. Don't you think that's a little hypocritical? Now, a Gotti is not that relevant to this case, but the following content creator is. If you've been around YouTube and looked for lyrical covers of FNF songs, one person you probably came across is brodowo. Brodowo made it big through her covers of the versus Sonic.exe songs. She's still making those, by the way. And she, just like Innuendo, still blindly calls Revi a pedo. Or, no, actually, she fucking backpedaled later on and just said, oh, Revi asked me not to cover OMW. That's not equal to being a pedophile, brodo. Now, this is the first part where some speculation has to come in, but as I said, it's not unfounded. Now, one day, Brodo decided to release a tier list of all songs in the 3.0 build of versus Sonic.exe, and that included a tier of unfinished songs. Yet some songs of which we, as the public, never heard the finished version of, they were also in the tier list. So of course, people were confused, and Brodo said that she got to hear the full version of Backslash. Backslash, if you don't know, is a song for one of the OCs, but here's the problem with that. Brodo has personal contact with the devs, and the devs trust her enough to not leak that shit that they can just let her hear the finished songs in the upcoming build. They also follow each other, so it's just like very clear that they like each other. So, you know, my conspiracy theory here is that Brodo is actually in on it, or at least wants to cover her friends, no matter what they say. Either way, that's fucking scummy, and Brodo just shouldn't fucking do that, needless to say. So yeah, my thesis on all the big creators that support the Exe team is the following. They're either, like Innuendo, actual idiots that do not look at the evidence and examine it, or, like Brodowo, most likely in on it. Now, before I get to the people I actually wish to expose, I want to make my terminology clear. Whenever I say Exe Team or Exe Devs, I'm talking specifically about the team that worked on the vs Sonic.exe mod. Nobody else. Okay? Good. Let's start with someone who didn't do too much. Falsecow made the original Twitter thread /dog filled with the false allegations and the nonsensical evidence. Now, since that applies to everyone else in the team, I just wanted to get this out of the way immediately. But something specific to Falsecow is she herself acted like getting cancelled over an RP is ridiculous. So like, why did you even bother making that Twitter thread filled with bullshit? Right after Falsecow made that Twitter thread, Madzilla quote retweeted it and just stated, "Oh, Revi also groomed me, yet there was no evidence given and he just very gladly still worked on the mod, added his own characters." So, I don't know, the trauma just seems a little bit fake. And we know that the grooming is fake, specifically because in DMs with Revi, Madzilla fucking admitted it wasn't grooming. So what's the fucking point in this? Oh, and also, at the time, he was still fucking 17, he couldn't be groomed either way. Now, if you ask yourself, then why did he make all that shit up? Oh, that's easy. Simply because he was angry that his characters, Griatos and Democre, were put into a side mod for Sonic.exe. Back then it was called Sonic.exe Misfits, simply for all the XLCs that didn't fit into the main mod. Not over the fact that Griatos and Democre didn't make it into a mod at all, just that they weren't front and center. That's fucking petty. Of course, that's just speculation again, but like, considering how many XLCs were added after Revi was thrown out, I think it's a logical assumption to just say, oh, they did it to add their OCs. But maybe that's just me. KubiCorg is one of the biggest perpetrators in the whole Revi situation. They acted very traumatized due to that ERP they did with Revi, but they are very sexual on the internet and they did ERPs before, so I'm just asking, what exactly were they traumatized by? Also, they later on made the claim that any sexual interaction between a minor and an adult is pedophilia. I don't even have to tell you that that's extremely stupid, because 17 and 18 will never be pedophilic. Also, Kubi straight up said it's fine. Kubi said that all was fine in DMs. That was part of the Falsecow thread. So, what the fuck? Oh, and fun fact! The innocent little KubiCorg just straight up told Revi to kill herself. Because that's not extremely fucked up. The weird thing is that when asked in DMs about the situation, Kubi tends to just not want to talk about the whole Revi situation and just block the person instead. And the one time they did address it, they said something extremely stupid. Like, they straight up compared their situation of a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old to a 14-year-old and a 20-year-old. Like, of course 6 years is a very fucking large age gap. That's pedophilia. Good point. 2 years is not 6 years though, so that's not a fair comparison. Also, Madzilla straight up said that Kubi fucking blackmailed Revi with the whole situation. And that's what it essentially is, blackmail. So could someone please explain to me why people think that KubiCorg is an innocent victim when they are very sexual on the internet themselves, when they tell someone to fucking kill themselves and then also blackmail that person? I don't know, I don't think that seems very innocent. Now, the Revi situation isn't that important from here on out because the people are just fucked up in general. So let's talk about Jackie now. Maybe you remember that there was like a fake leaked version of the Sonic.exe mod that just shows your IP address. Doesn't have any songs, just the IP address thing.
Hey guys, it's me Speed. I'm one of the editors for Exe, and we understand that mods get leaked and that sometimes curiosity gets the best of us and we like to play these leaked builds that are posted, things like 4chan and stuff like that. But with the recent one that has just been leaked, we advise not to even open it. You open it and it will show your IP.
And, well, Jackie made it. That fucking build caused a lot of panic. Primarily because people from the team, Saster and Speeds, remember their names by the way, used that fucking situation to fearmonger. For no reason. So what was that all about? Uptaunt is very cut and dry. He just harasses people sexually, including Revi and Madzilla, but also people from outside the team. He's just generally fucked up. There are also accusations that he's a pedophile, but as far as we know, that's not true. However, he still has no problem keeping up the lie that Revi is one. What the fuck, dude? You know what it feels like. Sure, you had a 1-year age difference and she had a 2-year age difference, But 1 year doesn't make that much of a difference in that situation. What the hell? But speaking of pedophiles, the Exe team actually had one. JesterFrog straight up saved CP from a 14/15-year-old and refused to delete said CP until she was called out. She also made an apology which was straight up garbage. Like, she said she wasn't thinking, but how do you not think at all about the situation you're in for almost 2 fucking years? Now, before I get into the last 4 people I will talk about, I want to say that these 4 are what I consider to be the big 4. These people not only had a lot of power over the mod, but also still have quite a bit of power over the community. So, without any further ado, let's talk about MarStarBro, one of the directors of the mod. To start off easy, he just straight up lied to the fans. He said there wouldn't be any self-inserts in the mod, yet there are very clearly assets that were made to be put in. Next, after the Revy accusations were straight up debunked by Lenny, he just backpedaled on them. And I want to add, when you backpedal on accusations that kinda define your current career, that basically means you admit that they are false. You just cannot do that because, well, then your career would be fucked. Now, what he said is that the document was just put together shoddily, that Revy isn't a pedo but still a bad person, and he still provides no evidence. So I just want to say once and for all, if she really is a bad person, why didn't you just provide evidence for that? Or just drop it in general, because that's not something to be cancelled over, that's not something to ruin a life over. Also, he reveals himself to be a fucking snake because he straight up backstabs ComGaming and AveryAvary by saying they were the ones that added all the demo season. And once again later on, he basically publicly admits that Revy is not a pedophile, yet he fucking refuses to apologize for framing her. But even when it's not about Revy, he's disgusting, because like when someone used Faker for some cover or whatever, he straight up harassed them in the comments. Like, what the fuck is this shit? You're straight up harassing a fan, a fucking fan. AveryAvary is a person that did a lot of things. He admits in DMs that the evidence was bullshit, but not publicly. He supports JesterFrog, a pedophile. He supports Coulson, a person that made fun of a cancer patient. But the 2 worst things he did are the following. 1. He tried to frame an innocent person for leaking the Sonic.exe build. What the actual fuck? Like, I wish I was joking, I fucking wish. But when someone from the team, who was also a notorious leaker, just leaked a few songs, well, Avery tried to shift blame. Second, there was a certain line he once dropped in a public Discord server. He straight up said that he could ruin a lot of lives if he wanted to. So yeah, he straight up threatened the general populace. That's, very messed up. Honestly, Avery just strikes me as a generally very fucked up human being, so I'm more just surprised there isn't anything more to talk about. Now, ComGaming is an interesting case because he admitted to a lot of shit in private. Like, he is probably one of the biggest sources for this video, and that's fucking ironic. Still, he did that just in private and not publicly. He also spread bullshit like Revy flirting with him while he was 15. Sure buddy, whatever you say. But he also revealed himself to be pretty damn apathetic about all the horrible stuff his friends are doing. And like, when someone points out more stuff they did, like for example, the fact that Avery did try to frame someone for leaking the build, he just backs down and agrees with it. But still, once that whole truth, aka his DMs with that person, were leaked, he threw a hissy fit in Discord DMs with that person. He was actually angry that the truth came out, that he admitted that the evidence against Revy is bad, that he admitted that the build that leaks the IP address was made by someone in the Exe team, that he admitted that Rightburst is spiteful and vindictive, but we're gonna get to Rightburst later, trust me. Now, ComGaming may not seem so bad, so you might ask why I classified him as part of the big 4. Well, it's this one last teeny tiny thing that, how do I put this? Let me set the scene first. ComGaming has said multiple times that he's homeless. He also accepts donations for that just to help him out of that situation. But there's one massive problem with it. Holy shit. He was doxxed. Now you might wonder, how do you dox a homeless person? And at first people thought, well, it was fake. Of course it was. You can't dox a homeless person. But then, KJ Beepus, the voice of Xenophanes or Xenophanes or however you want to name him, straight up confirmed the dox was real. And therefore also admitted that he's not homeless. One quick update here. Apparently ComGaming also admitted that the dox was real, while also insisting that he's still homeless, so make of that what you will. Keep in mind, ComGaming is still accepting donations. ComGaming is straight up scamming people by acting like he's fucking homeless when he isn't. What the actual fuck is wrong with this guy? Jesus! Now, you might think that the last 3 people were bad. After all, Mar harasses fans, Avery just threatens people, and ComGaming scams everyone. Well, if you think that's bad, you've seen nothing yet. Because the person we're talking about now is quite possibly one of the biggest scumbags in the whole goddamn community. It's time to talk about Rightburst. Now, for those who somehow do not know, Rightburst is the original creator of the versus Sonic.exe mod. He also very much used to be a director of the mod, but he was thrown out simply because he was very, very authoritarian in that position. Like, he rushed the 1.5 version of the mod, he forced his own way in 2.0, and then that led to him getting democratically kicked out. And even then, once he was brought back in, he put like 4 or 5 different OCs in. There's even the rumor that he apparently was thrown out yet again, but that one I cannot confirm. Com has admitted in the DMs that he's generally very vindictive. He just has something especially against Revi just because she took his director role, and that just led to him being the one who collected all the quote-unquote evidence from Falsecow's original thread. His vendetta against Revi is in fact still ongoing. He still retweets like fake Revis in order to keep her slandered image afloat. He generally retweets anyone who's anti-Revi, just still being vindictive about it. And speaking of his Twitter, he sends his fanbase after others. That's really disgusting. You know what's the funniest part about him? Despite how much he very clearly hates Revi, he also seems to respect her. You know, considering how much he fucking steals concepts from her. Like, Wikidna is a faker clone, his brand new Metal Sonic.exe is just a ripoff of some old sprites for Metal Sonic that Revi made, and his new original take on Lost Silver is also just a concept straight up stolen from Revi. Like, look at the reference sheets, even those are fucking similar. When it comes to the Revi situation, he also just keeps acting like a victim repeatedly, and also just casually takes the moral high ground, even though he's the one that ruined everything for her. Straight up, like one time when someone said that they wished death on Revi, he said, "Oh, don't do that, she needs help," like she didn't go to therapy for 2 months. Fuck. I also quickly want to talk about some very interesting tweets that Rightburst made. He made a Twitter thread where he talked about his life and his general situation, but the first half is not that relevant to what I'm trying to say here. The second half is. Just check what he says here. Something like, "Nobody looks at the full story," or "Nobody approaches me to hear from both sides." The weirdest thing he says is that apparently he sticks up for people, which, yeah, Com might disagree with that. Then, on another thread, he now says that his friends have actively left and blocked him, and of course he uses that to keep portraying himself as a victim here. Overall, I just think the fact that he is now in a similar situation to Revi, even if nowhere near as extreme, is just kinda ironic, you feel me? And yet again, despite how much he hates Revi, he snuck her into his own mod called FNF Parallax. Later, he was called out on it, and just dropped one of the worst apologies I've ever seen, I swear to God. He's still vindictive and spiteful in it, this time against Avery for leaving Parallax apparently. That's what the text at the bottom of every single screenshot of their DM says. And in that part where he talks of Revi, he just throws some more bullshit out and he talks about having memory issues. And we'll fucking talk about his memory issues. Oh Jesus Christ, that's a doozy. But here's the worst part about it. He and Avery, for some reason, act like Revi was actively manipulating them through this convo they had. But like, the moment you read through the convo, you just realize that it's a completely normal conversation. Like, sure, it wasn't about like the best subject, but yeah, no, there's no manipulation going on here, especially not from Revi's side. But one final really big point before this. After the Sonic.exe mod was cancelled, Rightburst jumped right over to versus Sonic.exe Rerun, a fan mod that was in development long before Sonic.exe was cancelled, but currently acts as basically the main mod, considering the actual main mod no longer exists. Well, when said mod then made a Q&A in a live Twitter space, he was obviously there. And as someone asked what exactly his response to Large Lenny's original video was, well, it was the following.
Real quick, I'm gonna risk saying this because of what happened while V2 was happening. What do you guys think about the recently came up video of Revy being innocent?
Bull, absolute
bullshit.
dog. Bullshit.
Actual
I have no
bullshit.
comment. I got no comment.
no.
I got no comment.
That's right, it was 5 seconds of the words bullshit and no comment. That's not a valid response to 30 minutes of evidence. Also, the whole response seems very fishy if you ask me. Did you notice how the other devs just straight up took a second to wait for his reaction and then just also said, yeah, it's bullshit, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. Why were they specifically waiting for his opinion? Why didn't they speak up on their own? Is he manipulating the team? That's a genuine question. I do not know, and I cannot know because, well, nobody said anything about that. It's just that, well, it doesn't seem out of character for Rightburst. And generally, the whole rerun team just seems to run a lot worse with him. You know, it used to have like weekly teasers, but around the time he joined the team, those just suddenly stopped. That seems just a little suspicious if you ask me. But on the topic of Rightburst being suspicious, let's talk about his so-called memory issues. Well, he calls the memory issues, I call them bullshit. Let me explain. Weirdly enough, those memory issues are only a real problem when he fucks up in some way and has to save himself. This guy has a serious victim complex, and this is just another facet of it, if you ask me at least. He shows no other side effects that would lead one to believe that he has brain damage or Alzheimer's or dementia. Like, he's still very good at communicating, he can still draw well, so like the motor functions still work, he can generally still create, he can direct multiple mods at once. It just does not seem feasible for someone who is currently suffering from dementia to also do that at the same time. Also, fun fact, early onset dementia and or Alzheimer's typically don't set in before the 30s. They're really rare in your 20s and basically impossible to have in your teens. So it's nothing natural and it's most likely no brain damage from the outside, so what would even be the cause of those memory issues? Actually, I recently found a tweet of him saying that he has very severe memory issues, potentially even dementia. Now, not only did he actually say dementia, but also severe memory issues in your teens. It already seemed like a lie when he just said general memory issues, but severe ones? So yeah, once again, I'm calling bullshit. This does not seem right. So yeah, I do not believe this guy actually has those memory issues. I think he's lying to save himself. Unless he shows an actual diagnosis by an actual doctor, he's most likely lying about having dementia. Fuck him and fuck this. What the hell? You do not lie about shit like this. I shouldn't have to say this. So, you might think it's over now that I just exposed basically the main man behind all this. But nope! The whole team still has shit behind it and I'm gonna list all of it. Or at least everything I found, because there's probably a lot of stuff that the public eye never got to see. First of all, everyone fucking knows that the Revy accusations are false and that the evidence is garbage, but nobody speaks up. And if they do it in private or they just backpedal, still trying to insist that she's bad. There's even still like Saster. You remember him from the fear-mongering with like Jackie's fake build? Yeah, he still insists on her guilt and uses Luigi Kid's video on the topic. You know, the outdated one from January, not the new one where he said, hey, check out Lenny's video and make up your own mind. Even like back in January, more nonsensical claims were made, like Mikey for example said that, oh, in 2019, Revy groomed me, I was 15 or something. Like, as I said in my last video, Revy was born in 2003. That was even confirmed, by the way. So she would have been 16 at the time? Sorry, a 16-year-old cannot groom a 15-year-old. That just makes no sense. That's just a relationship, if you even get that far. The next big problem is that not just Avery, but like the whole damn team is okay with JesterFrog. like an actual predator. For example, Crybit speaks of some redemption arc JesterFrog went through, like is this an anime or whatever? And then Jasper just uses a fake alias to say that Jester changed and Revy didn't. No, Jesus, do not defend a fucking predator! And while they defend predators, they just straight up attack an innocent fucking 16-year-old. Yes, Toastify gets fucking harassed and slandered just because he dares to cover the Revy situation. Also, can I just say that the whole situation around Kenny is so massively overblown? Kenny came in, tried to like make sure Toastify doesn't talk about the situation for some reason. Then, once Revy called in, he just threw a complete hissy fit in the live chat. People told him to calm down, but nope, still didn't. Like, it's no wonder people started memeing on him and told him to grow hair. Jesus Christ. The only good part that came out of overblowing the situation so much is that Kenny actually left the community. Not permanently, but at least for now. And honestly, I don't think we need someone who throws fits over fucking nothing back, okay? Honestly, speaking of Revy, without her the management just completely fell apart. There were like 7 versions of My Horizon, so many different unfinished sprites, so much unfinished music, and a fuck ton of scrapped characters. But like, of course the management was shit. As Saster said, there were like 60 people with more than 10 not doing anything. And the directors that stayed around after Revy was thrown out indirectly admitted that her leadership was fucking good. Ideas like the Misfit side mod were straight up reused.
Sonic.exe file extensions is like DLC if you think of it. Basically, we're taking OC EXEs that we feel like shouldn't be in the mod and putting them in their own mod, practically.
Which makes sense, it's an objectively good idea, but they even steal shit like Faker's fucking poses, so it's no surprise they would also steal decisions from her. You know, speaking of Revy again, apparently there's this false claim that she forced Faker in when like it was a democratic decision and if anyone forced it in, it was Rightburst. Also, to just completely make known that they are all horrible people, they decided to piss on some of the last work Divide ever made. And if you don't know who Divide is, he is an artist who died while working on this godforsaken mod. And they do the digital equivalent of pissing on his fucking grave. I do not know who made that, and I do not fucking care. The fact that this was allowed to happen at all, the fact that they weren't publicly fucking thrown out of the team for this shit, that's disgusting and everyone in the team should fucking pay for this. And you know what we got out of these assholes being such massive scumbags? Fuck all! We get like 3 or 4 new songs in 3.0, a fuck ton of reworks, and just overall a much lower quality standard. Great! And that all leaves me with one question. What are the consequences of all this? What have the actions of this godforsaken team led to? Well, this chapter isn't called Two Communities in Ruin for nothing. You know, FNF used to be fucking great. There were so many different mods that were all creative in their own way and just had completely different vibes, but now this overblown and overhyped piece of shit mod just infected the community, and now there's like 50 or more mods with at least 10 of them being revivals, and it's annoying. At the same time, the community is just so strongly filled with drama. And while I can't say that it's the main reason it is like that, I'd say the Revy allegations are a big fucking reason as to why it feels like that now. And I think that only makes it more ironic that Speeds, you know, one of the 2 people that fearmongered over Jackie's fake build, now actually dares to preach about how bad the drama is. Go fuck yourself, Speeds. But it's not even the FNF community that was the most affected, it's the Exe community, and that one is now just completely wasted. Now, please excuse this kinda unnecessary nostalgic tangent, but the late 2010s were a fucking great time for Exe. There were people making fan games that actively tried to fix this broken story. We had the Nightmare series, we had Spirits of Hell, we had so many different games that tried to go for something different with Sonic.exe. But now it's just all these cutesy Sonic with black eyes made for nothing but shipping, and just allow me to say this. Do not fucking humanize a monster. Do not make a Sonic.exe kind. Do not make a Sonic.exe gay or trans or whatever. Do not give them human characteristics. They are psychopathic killers. That's what an exe is supposed to be. That's how it started. But I guess that really is all of it. It just started that way. But now, as it's sometimes said, it's a blanket term. I don't want to accept that. I want to think that Exe can still be horror. But now it's a meaningless term. By now, most Exe OCs are just Sonic OCs, but with an unnecessary label because it's cool and quirky, and it just makes my heart burn as a very old EXE veteran. But to drop this somber mood, it's very funny that the people who helped ruin this EXE community are now also complaining about it. Looking at you, Rightburst. Now, you might think this part comes out of left field, but I have quite a bit to say on the matter. But let me explain what I mean by good guys versus bad guys first. If you go to Twitter and just check any discussions surrounding the Revy situations, you see that the Exe Team supporters just actively think that their idols can do no wrong and are always right. It's generally a very warped view on reality. Adding to this warped view, you have people like Innuendo just straight up calling Revy a fucking villain as though this was a cartoon, or Crybit saying that Jester went through a redemption arc as though this was an anime. Like, what world do you and your fans live in? Meanwhile, people who even dare to support Revy are immediately demonized by creators and fans. Yes, even people who are neutral like Luigi Kid or Toastify. And yes, Toastify was initially neutral, even if now he apparently believes in Revy's innocence. We'll have to wait for his video to see his exact opinion. This went so wrong that people who just try to normally defend Revy actually got a video sent to them that included gore flashed by so quickly that it's not only disturbing, but also could potentially trigger seizures. This is in part what you can get for wanting a discussion. And these are the so-called good guys. As long as you support them, you can do pretty much everything you want without any repercussions. Well, almost anything. Let me explain it to you with an example. You might have heard of MarioBot. He is the creator of MX and Mario 85. He was also known as a huge Revy hater in the Exe community, so much that he threatened to rip someone's head off over a piece of faker fan art and told someone that they should admit they wish they had been groomed by Revy instead, just because they were defending her. Now, you might ask, what did the community do about these actions? Well, absolutely nothing. Actually, they didn't just let it slide, they supported what he was saying. Because as long as you are supporting the Exe Team, you're considered a good guy. Which again, pretty much allows you to say whatever the hell you want without any repercussions. Except for one thing. Because you see, MarioBot was later exposed for saying the N-word on Discord multiple times, and just making a lot of jokes on minorities and their lack of rights. Due to this, he was kicked out of the community and everyone turned against him. Do you see what I'm getting at? You can harass, threaten, and do who knows what else kind of shit to people, and the community won't bat an eye. But God forbid you dare say a slur or make a joke about minorities, because that suddenly turns you into an irredeemable monster. Because apparently saying the N-word is wrong, but threatening to rip someone's head off? Nah, that's fine. These are the morals we're dealing with, where saying a word is somehow considered worse than making threats and horrible grooming comments. This sounds like a bad joke, but it's true, sadly. But seriously, as long as you don't say slurs and respect everyone's pronouns, you can do whatever you want and it's fine for the Exe Team. I mean, as long as you're friends with them, of course. JesterFrog saves literal cheese pizza, nobody cares. Jackie causes a mass panic, nobody cares enough to keep him off the mod. Uptaunt is a straight up sexual harasser, nobody cares. MarStarBro harasses fans, nobody cares. AveryAvary threatens people, nobody cares. scams people, nobody cares. Rightburst does fucking everything, nobody cares. Meanwhile, someone like Large Lenny is just discredited for using he/him for Revy, even though Revy is fucking fine with it. This even shows in their fucking OCs. They can be straight up serial killers, but still they would never eat a Chick-fil-A because it supports conversion therapy. Looking at you, AveryAvary. On the flip side, OCs that are just made for fucking gay roleplays or whatever, straight up get praised to heaven and back, like Curse. I could go on a whole rant about Curse, but it's not fucking worth it. So, all in all, everything is game. It doesn't matter if you're like the most heinous person on earth. As long as you respect the LGBT community, everything is fine. You can be a pedophile, you can be a sexual harasser, you can be a scammer, you can be whatever. It's all cool. I don't want to drag this video out anymore, I just want to be fucking done with it. So, conclusion now. The Exe team is filled with way too many horrible people and everyone is fine with it. They even slandered the one person keeping the mod, and them apparently, in check. Their online friends and fans blindly follow them and help in the smear campaign against Revi. Said smear campaign was over OCs in a goddamn FNF mod. Then, without Revi, the mod fell apart and all that's left are two ruined communities. And still, the devs keep up the slander and just move on with no consequences for their heinous actions. They still manipulate their fanbase, and innocent people outside of the team get harassed for daring to speak up, for daring to have a different opinion. These people lack a basic moral compass. Nothing is off limits to them, nothing is holy, not even the dead are safe from them. I'll be honest. This video was not very fun to make, but someone had to compile all this. If everyone just stays silent on all of this, these people will get away scot-free despite all the damage they caused. So I don't like to do this, but please share the video. Share it around on all platforms. Feel free to download it if you don't want to give me more views, but please let people know, let their supporters know just how bad these people are. How nothing and nobody is safe from them. If you supported them in the past or still do it until now, I am very sorry you were also manipulated. And if you actually watched through this whole video and decided that you will still keep supporting them, I cannot help you. You made up your mind, and while I do not respect your decision, I cannot change it. And also, one last message to the people I talked about in this video. If you decide to use evidence to disprove any of my claims, I will happily take them back and formally apologize in the description and or the pinned comment. I do not believe that any of you will, but I am always open to have my mind changed. Just like Lenny managed to change my mind on Revi. I did once believe she was guilty. I did once follow these people. And I just hope that I can at least open some more eyes to why that is wrong. Why these people are wrong. So, thank you for watching. And if you spread a video, thank you for that too. As with the last video, you'll find all the evidence I use in a folder in the description. I'll most likely even add this video, the last video, the descriptions to notepads, all the old evidence in there, just so in case this video gets taken down, either from me or from the Exe Devs, you will always be able to spread it. Always make sure that their deeds will never be forgotten. My name is GameReal. I am glad to have you watching this video. Goodbye.